So how do you find your person and get more in 2024? So let's start it off, right? So the first thing we need to do is we have to do a recap and we have to understand what love is. So love is not really this, this feeling that we have, and that's what, the dictionary says it is. God's definition of love is more about caring, respect, and honestly dedication. And if you want to get the best out of what God has for you or to get into a better relationship, the first thing you've got to really lock in on is the dedication side of what love is. If you cannot get your mind wrapped around dedication, love is going to be very difficult because there are no perfect people. And so, as you're out here looking for your person, if you're looking for them to be sweeping you up in this huge, oh my emotions, I just love this and it's wonderful, and he says the right thing and she does the right things, then you're gonna have a hard time. Because a lot of the people that do that, and we've been learning about this more and more when people start talking about things like narcissism and love bombing and things like that, there are people that manipulate love. So what you have to do is get your mind away from this concept of this emotional love and get yourself into more of God's definition, which is more dedication, forgiving, seeing the good in people, caring, respect, common ground. And once you get into that side of love, then you're going to see, notice, and be around better people. And then from there, then the emotional side of love can actually start up. So that's the first thing you really need to kind of get in your spirit in order to, find your person and get to where you need to go. Once you understand that concept of love, you have to do work on yourself to figure out, are you ready for love? Is your heart ready for love? Now, hopefully you've been hanging out with us for a while, or you've been doing work in 2023, and so you're ready to actually start to get to that point, because God talks about it over and over again. You can't be double minded. You can't be in two different boats. If you're in two different boats, it literally doesn't work. You just get stretched out and you get hurt. And sooner or later, if one foot is in one boat and one foot is in an entirely different boat, you will get stretched out and you will fall into the water. So you have to figure out, okay, how are you going to do it? Are you going to jump all in, or are you going to try to hybrid it? But you've got to, honestly, if you really want it, you're going to have to jump all in and then start to work toward, finding that and healing yourself. So here's where the problems really start in, is that humans are selfish, right? We are selfish people. And, we can say that we're not and all this other kind of stuff. But, as Tashawn said about, I think, 2 months ago, she made the point, which is true. She said, everybody in CSC could be married right now, but at the end of the day, we want what we want. We're waiting for Mr. or Mrs. Perfect to pop up, before we make a decision. And what I'm always trying to tell people is people haven't changed since the beginning of time. We can see it right here in Jeremiah 18, where, Jeremiah says, look, God wants to do good for you. And the people literally told him, like, look, we don't want to do what God says. We want to stubbornly follow our own desires. We want to do what we want to do. And if we all think about it, we all have this going on within ourselves. So this is that fight that we have to play. And I mean, we have to conquer in order to get what we want out of life, which leads us into selfishness, right? So in selfishness, we start to see, like in Proverbs, is basically talking about a wise person builds their home, but a foolish person tears it down with their own hands. So God many times has already given you the blessing that you're asking for. And this is one of the things that I'm constantly telling people. 9 times out of 10, God has already provided for you the blessing you've been praying for. But you tend not to want it. Why? You don't want it because you want what you want. God is saying, look, I see hearts, I see minds, I see the future. So I am telling you not I want you to get with guy A instead of guy B, or female A instead of female B, but we end up wanting to go for a guy or female B because we just think they're cuter, right? And so what happens is we destroy our own blessings because we do not want, to do the right thing. And so when we're starting to talk about love your neighbor, it's the whole thing. I mean, are you willing to do for other people more than what you're willing to do for yourself? Because selfish people, they do get married. I'm not gonna lie, they do get married, but selfish people also get divorced. That's probably the number one reason why people get divorced, is that they marry a selfish person. And two selfish people can never be in a relationship, ever. Because as soon as they try to get in a relationship, it doesn't work. So 9 times out of 10, you're getting two types of relationships that have any kind of longevity. You get the full selfless relationship where two people are in it and both of them are selfless and they're constantly giving to the other person, which is the strongest relationship. Or one person is selfish and the other person is selfless, and the selfless person gives to the selfish person, thinking that one day surely this selfish person is going to give back to me, and it don't work that way, boo. Selfish people are selfish people, and they don't even see that they've done anything wrong because they're thinking, hey, since day one this has been how we've worked, so why in the world are you upset about how things are going? This is how we both agreed on this, right? This is why we got into this relationship. So let's talk about some unwritten rules, because if you don't know the rules, how can you play the game? And dating is a game. It is pretty much, I mean, you can almost look at people and really figure out, honestly, I can interview people and figure out whether or not they're going to be married in a year or married in 3 years. Because it's all about, are you playing the game? Are you willing to play the game? And are you going to sit around and argue it? The more people argue the game, the more it's like problems that they have. But the more they're just like, okay, I understand these rules. How can I line myself up to get the best out of this and work from there? So for women, most men know what women are looking for. They're basically looking for a protector and a provider. And recently I've been telling people a leader, right? So women just don't like hanging out with men that's broke. I'm just being real. If a man does not make enough money to take care of himself and generally a child, and even if they're over that child age group and they're not concerned about it, that extra money is for traveling. That extra money is to, fix the car if it needs to be fixed. That extra money is to buy furniture. So if a man is strapped to the point where he can't do any work, he can't do anything else but feed himself and clothe himself and put a roof over his head, most women are not going to be attracted to that. That's just not attractive to them. And the same thing to protect. Now, it's easy for guys that, on the protection side, because most women are okay if you're just taller than them. At that point, most women feel like, hey, I feel protected. And if you're a shorter guy, I'm always saying you got to get in the gym, because if women see some muscles, even if you're her height, she might be a lot easier for her to want to date you. Even if you are a little shorter, she might say, well, he's got muscles, so he can fight it off. So it's a mental game. That's all subconscious game. And it's a bonus if you know how to lead. And the best way to learn how to lead, guys, is to basically practice leading. Non-negotiables for men, and these are, the first one is the one that most women hate. Same thing, the first one for women was the one men hate, and that is to be beautiful as his eyes behold the beauty. Now, the whole concept here, again, is the same thing. You don't have to be super skinny. You don't have to have the best clothes. You don't have to have a certain type of hair. You don't have to be a certain skin tone, blah, blah, blah. All that is the garbage that you see on television. The bottom line is there is a woman out there literally for every man. As soon as I say, hey, a woman should, put on a little lip gloss because I like lip gloss, there'll be another guy that say, I don't like no woman that wear no lip gloss. I don't want her to wear no makeup. She need to be, fully this. And as soon as there's a man out there that says, hey, I like natural hair, there's another man that says, I don't like no natural hair. I want her to have straight hair. And then you have another guy that'll say, well, I want a woman, to be super skinny. And then another dude like, nah, man, I got to have something to grab hold to. So these are things, that's why I say it's about being beautiful as his eyes behold beauty. And you have to stand in your beauty. And this is one of the things that I'm always telling women, like if a man comes up to you and he wants to change your beauty style, I would tell you to tell him to hit the road. Because evidently your beauty style was enough to get him to come over and talk to you. So you don't necessarily need to change anything. Because it works like this. Say, for instance, you have natural hair and you've worked to get that natural hair and blah, blah, blah. And then now a guy comes up to you and he's basically like, well, I don't like natural hair. I think you should straighten your hair. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to try to make it work with this dude. So you decide to straighten your hair. And as soon as you do that, and now you're off with this dude, there could have been 10 other guys that was checking you out and they wanted to talk to you because you had natural hair. So but at the same time, the thing I would tell you is you need to like the men who like you. So if you are a woman who likes natural hair, who has natural hair, 9 times out of 10, your man is probably going to be more what I would consider earthy, bohemian, a little bit more on the artsy side. Okay, political. He's going to be more in that. And when I say political, he's more of the people that's going to strike and, and put his hand up as a fist. He's not going to be a politician. If he's a politician, he's going to want you to straighten your hair. Because now you're going to be on TV and you're going to have to represent a more quote unquote American look. So you have to think about what type of man that you want, and that is going to let you know his beauty standards. After that, men are looking for a woman to be caring, loving, and supportive. This is the thing that is a big problem right now. In fact, some of I have there's several YouTube channels out there that we participate in. And one of the comments one time was, men were saying, when it comes to like single mothers, because there's always this issue about single moms. And this one guy said straight up, he was like, look, there was a point when single mothers were loving, they were kind, they were the kindest women. And women understood that, hey, I got a second chance to find my man. And so I'm going to be twice as loving as I was before. But now, more so in the Gen Z going into the young millennials, where a lot of these women, they don't care. They got 3 babies by 3 different baby daddies, and they're sitting around just as mean and nasty and think one day they're going to get married. And it don't work that way because men are attracted to caring, loving women. And so this is a place where a lot of women need to check themselves because we live in a society that right now says, hey, it's okay for women to be mean. We put it on social media and different things like that. And then we basically say, oh, this is funny. Oh, look at these guys acting this way in the third. Well, those women ain't going to get married. And I've said it before, the people who get married are the nice averages of these things. Really beautiful women. I know I'm spending a lot of times with the women right now, but I'm really trying to hammer this home. Really beautiful women don't get married, especially if they're mean. Now, they might get flown around the world. Men will spend money on them. Okay, but they don't get married. But women who don't care about their beauty at all, they just let their beauty go saying, oh, I want you to love me for me. Those women don't get married either. It is the woman that's in the middle who cares just a little bit enough for, her, to put herself together and this, that, and the third, and then also being that caring, loving, supportive. And I think that's where, to me, the church doesn't do a good job because they don't really kind of go through these types of things and try to help women to get there. But it's the same thing when I tell men about being a provider. If you don't have money, dude, it's the same thing. You have to kind of up yourself, get on your grind, get on your hustle. I actually knew a man that literally worked about 20 hours overtime just so he could keep up with his wife. And he told me, he was like, I'm just never going to let her outdo me financially, because he recognized that there's a thing with a lot of women, they just can't handle it. And so, not to say that all of them can't, but guys, just to protect yourself, you need to be thinking about your money. All right. So we need to make sure we understand these translations, because these are things that we hear all the time. And again, I got to make sure that I work through all the crap. Before we get into a discussion, we got to cut out the crap so we understand what we're talking about, and we understand that men and women really kind of talk two different languages. It's very similar, but it's different. So when a woman says there's just no good men out here, when a woman says that, she really means there's no good men out here who can protect and provide for me, who I find attractive by being taller, stronger, and with good testosterone levels, who is kind, loving, and that I can easily submit to. So when she says that one thing, see, other women understand exactly what she means. When two women are talking to each other and they say there's no good men out here, then the other woman knows exactly. But men, we're like, huh? What are you talking about? I'm right here. I'm awesome. But then we might not have our money right. We might not have something else going on for ourselves. So we think she's full of it. Well, it's the same thing. When two men are hanging out, like if me and Sean Williams are hanging out, and I'm like, man, there ain't no good women out here. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. But for women, they don't get it. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. There's all these really great women. All my friends are really great women, and they're single. Well, what a man means is there are no good women out here who are kind but beautiful by my standards, who see my worth and value it. Women who will naturally submit without arguing. He means all of that. Right? And see, this is where the disconnect comes. Because like I said, a lot of men will have friends that we like, man, me and my boys all are single, and I don't understand, man, these women just bypassing us. And then women will say the same thing. All me and all my girlfriends, we're all single, and I don't understand why these men don't want us. Because and that's why I say there is a game that is being played. And I'm gonna be real, when a lot of women, because I remember growing up, and my parents taught a lot of this stuff to me. And a lot of the women that I dated in high school and college, they talked about it, how their parents kind of told them, while they weren't saying they were playing a game, they kind of told them the rules and regulations. And the people who have it the hardest are the ones who just believe they ain't got to play no game. Right? So the media confusion, and this is why I'm always telling people that Hollywood does not have your back. They don't have your back at all. Okay, and books don't have your back. Any media that you're watching, including social media, does not have your back. It is lying to you because it's playing to your emotion. So what happens is, like, this first one is from Pride and Prejudice. This is actually one of my favorite movies. But Pride and Prejudice. So this woman is the plain Jane woman. And if all of you women out there, y'all read a book, a romance novel, or you watched a rom-com, okay, that Hollywood has created, it's always the plain Jane chick. It's always the chick that's not that pretty. She's just the okay. The movie might even start with her best friend getting married, and she's just the bridesmaid. Right? It's always that woman. And she ends up with the dude that's the multimillionaire. It's the dude that's super handsome. He got everything going on for his life. And that is the dude that is the romantic opposite. And then for men, and this is Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man movie. Okay, in the original Spider-Man movie, Peter Parker's character was a nerd. He was a weakling. He didn't have any muscles or anything. Right? And Mary Jane Watson, who he loved, didn't see him. She was friends with him, but she had put him in the friend zone. Why? Because he wasn't manly. He wasn't the football player. He wasn't the politician. He was just a little nerdy dude. And when he gets bit by the spider, now he gets all muscles. They literally showed him getting muscles in the movie. And now Mary Jane wants to talk to him. So what we see is Hollywood plays to your emotions because women want to be loved despite their plainness, and not just their plainness, they want to be loved by the epitome of what a man is. Not a good man, not an okay man, but the best man. And then men want to be loved despite the weakness, despite our lack of ambition. And not only do we want it by a woman, we want it by the best woman. Because Mary Jane Watson was the it girl. She was the one that everybody wanted in school. And this is what Hollywood plays to over and over and over again. And the more you watch it, the more you believe that you're different. It's going to work for me because it worked for 10 people in this movie. And don't even get me started on Hallmark. Oh my gosh. So anyway, now that we've gotten through the junk of it, okay, and we've gotten through what we got to get out of our heads, right? Here comes the hard part, right? This is what all of you guys need to be doing for 2024 to find your person, right? So the very first thing I want all of you to do is to have a plan. What is the saying? If you don't have a plan to win, you plan to fail, something like that. All right. You need a plan. You need to stop believing that love is just going to happen. 9 times out of 10, especially once you get out of a environment where there's just a lot of people, it just don't work. Okay. So you need to have a plan. So you need to be thinking about right now, and we're going to talk about this in our discussion later. You need to be thinking about, okay, if I like the intellectual guy, where does that guy hang out? If I like the fun woman, where does she hang out? If I like somebody, if I want to have conversations about the Marvel movies, where does my person go? You need to be thinking like that. And then you need to say, okay, after you figure out where these people, your people are, you need to think about, okay, well, how do I change my schedule to be there where most of these people are going to be there? And then you need to evaluate yourself. And you need to say, can I go alone? Or do I need a wing person? Am I going to be able to sit in these spaces and feel comfortable, or do I need someone to talk to? If you are doing that, that is one of the reasons why CSC exists, to be your wing person. Like right now, one of the things that you all should be sharing in the chat, and I'm giving you the go ahead to share it in the chat, is you should be saying where you live in the United States and or the world. So you could type in, I'm in Atlanta, or I'm in New York, or I'm in Chicago. Why? Because there might be somebody that lives in that area that you can now start to DM and start to say, hey, girl, guy, would you like to go out and kick it with me so you don't have to go alone? Because that is the benefit of CSC. We have always told people, we try to be your wing person. Now, if you're in Atlanta or in one of the places where we have events, we do try to do events in places where there are going to be other single people. So the entire group is like your wing person. But if you can't come out to our events, even if you're in Chicago, it's okay if you can find somebody else in Chicago. Now you have somebody that you can actually call up and say, hey, let's go out together and find these places. And then sometimes you might go to a place where there might be intellectual men and or women, and sometimes you might go to places where they're fun, men and or women. And you gotta, change it up. It's also really great if you are a mom. Maybe one of the people in the group might be willing to watch your kids. If there's 2 single moms, then you can be like, look, girl, I'll watch your kids this Friday. You watch my kids next Friday. All right. This is what I'm saying. You guys have to have a plan. because otherwise all you're going to do is you're going to hurt yourself and you're not going to basically get out there and find your person. The next thing you need to do is you need to practice smiling, talking, and being open. Now, I know in the north part of the United States, it works a little bit different because people don't necessarily like to walk down in the New York subway and be smiling, at people because that might get you mugged. But here in Atlanta, if you're not smiling, that is the biggest, easiest way for men, especially for women, for men not to talk to you. So you need to smile as you're doing your groceries. You need to look up. A lot of times women are so focused on trying to hurry up and get their stuff done that they are not doing what they could be doing in order to meet people, right? You're going 9 times out of 10, you're going to meet your person as you're walking around through life. So you need to be looking. And ladies, don't think that the man has to be looking awesome, because 9 times out of 10, he probably going to be in a jeans and a t-shirt because he just doing his grocery shopping just like you. So don't be looking at him to be in no suit. What you need to be thinking in your mind is, okay, what would this guy look like if he was in a suit? Or whatever it is that you like, because everybody likes something different. And then this is the hardest part. And we've gone over this. I don't have time to go over it today. Many of you pick bad people. Okay, you know who you are if you pick bad people. What does this mean? Well, you picked guy 1 and he was a narcissist. Then you moved to guy 2 and you found out he was a narcissist. And then you go to the guy 3 and you're like, dang it, another narcissist. Well, boo, it ain't them, it's you. Because what's happening is your energy likes the energy of the narcissist. Does that make sense? Because plenty of women find really great guys and they only date really great guys. But the rub here, the problem here is that many times your instincts, your chemistry is leaning you down a path where you cannot trust yourself. And when you get around a really great guy, he might not feel comfortable because you're not used to him. I'll give you an example. I dated a woman about 2 years ago, and she was the nicest woman. I mean, she came over, she cleaned up, she was doing stuff for me left and right, but her chemistry seemed off. Because I was used to women, to be honest, that didn't do nothing for me. They just wanted to sit around and be cute. So when I was hanging out with her, it felt wrong. And me and her became friends, and I praise God that we became friends. We stopped dating, we became friends. And so we would just hang out. And so as I was hanging out with her, because now she's not a romantic partner, she's a friend, it's easier for me to stomach or take in her energy. Because I was rejecting it as a romance partner, but now that I'm around her every day, I'm starting to get it through the friendship. And so after we hung out for almost a year, I was like, this is closer to the woman I need. This is closer to the woman I want. But I had to learn that energy. It wasn't comfortable for me in the very beginning. Right? And so this is the place where if we are running into the same person over and over and over again, I'm telling you, it is not the other person, it's you. Because you have the desire to be with that energy again. And we used to do personality tests. We don't do them anymore in the group, but we used to do personality tests. And when we were doing a personality test, we identified a very limited number of personalities. Now, to make this simple, I'm going to use Myers-Briggs and say that most people know with Myers-Briggs, there's 16 different personalities. And many of you might be in love with Zodiac, even though a lot of Christians are against Zodiac. And in Zodiac, there are 12 personalities. So if you think about it, what's happening is because you are attracted to a certain energy, out of the 16 personalities that exist in the world through Myers-Briggs, you keep lining yourself up with 1 or 2 of the 16. and you're rejecting the other 14. But those are still out here. So what you have to do is you have to get comfortable with another set of the 16 that are out here. And that is going to be difficult, especially for a lot of women, because a lot of women really love the chemistry of a man, how he talks to you and things like that. And there was another woman that I dated, you know, for people that's been around me for a while. I'll be honest, when I first meet a woman, I really don't have compliments for her. I really don't. I don't compliment a lot on the first couple of dates because my energy is more, I need to get to know you first. And I'm more concerned about what your brain is doing because I'm more intellectual. So I'm more worried about what the brain is doing, not necessarily how cute you are. Even though you might be extremely beautiful, I'm still more concerned about your brain. And then once I get over that hurdle, then the compliments come. And I've had women that they weren't used to that. They didn't like that. The fact that they weren't getting just a lot of compliments up front because they were used to men that did that. But I've even had women that stuck it out. You know, they got over that hump and then they were like, wow, you are a great guy. You're one of the best men I've ever dated. But in the beginning, they did complain that I wasn't giving them a lot of compliments because that's what they were used to. Right? So that's why I was saying sometimes you got to go against your own chemistry and you can't always trust your instincts. Now, if you're the type of person that always picks good people, it just hasn't worked out for a small detail, then you can trust yourself. So let's move on because, you know, this is starting to take some time now. Okay. Now for 2024, you need to do all you can. Okay. And the very first thing y'all see, and I've talked about this before, get out of the house. All right. And introverts, I'm talking to you. All right. Okay. Now I love a good introvert. I think introverts are great. And I've constantly said that I'm going to be real, that a lot of introverts will be married if they would just get out of the house. Because many introverts are submissive, many introverts, they don't really want to conquer the world. So they have a totally different set of problems than the women that want to conquer the world. So a lot of them, if they would just get out, they probably will be married, provided they pick the right person. But Amazon is not into the business of slavery, so they don't deliver men. Okay, or women. So if you're in that situation, your man ain't gonna pop up through Amazon. That'll be a big box out there with a smile on it, and you open it up and you're like, oh, it's a nice, tall, handsome man in here that speaks well and's got a job. It don't work that way. All right. The next thing is we have this big thing in social media about pick-me's. And we need to get out of that because a lot of women are like, well, I don't want to be a pick-me. I don't want to be a pick-me. I don't want to be a pick-me. If a pick-me is a woman who is doing effort in order to get married, then I'm encouraging every woman to be a pick-me. Okay, I've actually dated two women who told me that they believe based off of the social media that they said that they would be considered pick-me's. And I'm going to tell you, that was some of the best doggone dating that I had because they were fully invested in trying to make this relationship work versus a woman who's just like, I don't know, I guess I'll call you back. I guess I'll text you. I guess I'm available this weekend. No man wants that. Same thing, women don't want that. Women don't want a man that's just like, whatever. Y'all want a man that's fully invested. So we got to get out of this mindset of saying that you can't show your feelings, that you can't put forth effort. The next thing is, and I kind of said it earlier, we need to up the things that the opposite gender is attracted to. This was something, again, I'm trying to use myself an example, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of times I think we see and we hear these things, but we don't put it into practice. And if you talk to anybody that knew me in high school, they would tell you straight up that not only was I against these types of things, that I was very political about it. And I would say that no, a woman needs to love me for me and all this other kind of crap. And all that did was got me alone. And the men that did well were the ones who dressed better, who would give the women compliments, who were doing what the woman wanted them to do. Those were the guys that had the most women. So the more I fought it, the more I was by myself. And I find that as people get into their own little groove of life, we forget that the other person has to be attracted to us. And their attraction to us is not based on what we use as qualifications to like them. This is why, there's this whole argument about what people bring to the table. Okay, when people talk about bringing to the table, a lot of women think, well, I'm bringing my money to the table. But most men that have their life together are like, well, I never asked you for your money. So you can't even bring your money and put it on the table because I don't care about that. But they'll basically say, but are you a nice person? And then women are like, I don't, why I gotta be nice? Why I gotta be? No, that's what I care about. And then men are saying, well, why I gotta bring money to the table? It should be okay if I just treat you right. And then women are saying, no, I care about how much money you make. So we have to get out of fighting against what the other side just wants. Yield, and it'll make your life easier. It's like yielding to God. What does God want? God wants a humble heart. He wants you to give your life fully to him. I find that the more you fight with God, the more you start to recognize, as people say, your arms are too short to box with God. But as soon as you give in to God and say, okay, God, I'm going to do it your way, or at least try to do it most of your way, that's when God blesses you. All right? The next thing you need to do is you need to leave your frustrations in last year. Don't keep bringing up every little thing, every little worry, every little concern. You need to leave that crap last year. You need to 100% just cut it off and move on. And then you also need to remember, if you are a Christian, you need to believe that God wants the best for you. Because a lot of times I think we get confused because of everything that's told to us, but God does want you blessed. And honestly, he wants you married. I mean, I can, look at the Bible and every little thing that goes into it, and I can basically say that I feel 99% chance, I truly believe in my heart that he wants you married. Because why? Marriage protects you. It represents, the relationship between God and the church. And then let's be real, okay? Over 90% of Christians, as we, depending on what study you look at, somewhere between 60 and 90% of Christians, they, even outside of marriage, they're having sex. Okay? And God wants sex in the union he cares about. He don't want sex outside of that. So you being married is a win for him. But when you're not married, that's a win for the devil. Because the devil knows, oh, you gonna have sex sooner or later. So now he can basically look at God and be like, see, I told you. She says she holy, but she out here doing this stuff. That's all the devil wants. He just wants to basically push every human being's sin back towards God and saying, you believe in these people, well, I don't believe in them. You should not believe in them because they're going to sin against you. Right? So, being married will stop that sin. And I'm, like I've said before, sex is a thing. I know all y'all going to get it sooner or later. That's why we don't fight it over here in CSC. We encourage you not to do it, but we know y'all going to do it sooner. All right, so change your narrative. You need to change your narrative in 2024. All right, and I'm always trying to get you guys to change this up here, right? Because you need to watch your thoughts. Everybody's heard this. I think this comes from Gandhi. You need to watch your thoughts because they become your words. Your words become your actions become your habit. Your habits becomes your character, and your character is what you live in. That is your destiny. That is what you're going to play out on this earth. And so one of the problems is, as you see the second line, which is Proverbs 22, 24 through 25, it says, don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul. So one of the problems that we have right now with social media is that everybody thinks they're a dating guru. Everybody thinks they have the best dating advice. But most of the people that are giving you advice are giving you the advice out of anger, out of malice, because somebody hurt them. And now they're out here trying to warn the world on staying away from this type of person. And you can always tell whether or not their heart is in the right place by their fruit. That's what Jesus said. He's like, watch the fruit of the person. Right? There's a woman right now, because like I said, some people know I have some social media stuff I put out there. And I mean, everything this woman puts out is like 100% negative. It is like, I haven't even done like a video based off her because it is just so doggone negative. But she was hurt. And she was hurt really bad. And so now she's out here. But the problem is, if you all go and attach yourself to her by watching her, or men, because there's men out here who have done it too. We know about, Mr. Samuels, because a lot of people were, following him for a long period of time. And again, what was the narrative that he was pushing? He's pushing everything about being all this that you can be on the earth. He was divorced twice, and was it not encouraging men to get married? Okay, does that line up with anything that's godly? So again, it's like these people, if you get too much, listen to them too much. And I'm not saying that they don't have some good things that they say, but it's like if you get in bed with them too much, what they're saying gets in your head. And then when you're on a date with the person, or you're talking to a person, or you're moving and grooving, now that becomes who you are. And that's why the Bible is saying, do not hang out with these people, because they will mess you up. They will endanger your whole destiny because you think it's okay. Oh, it don't matter. I sit here and I'll watch so-and-so on here. I watch me some Maury. I watch this. I watch that. It's okay. I can handle it. But what's happening is your subconscious is writing this information down. And then sooner or later, it's going to come out in your words. It's going to come out in your actions. And then that is going to become your destiny. Now, so for everybody that wants to do online dating, and remember, we don't always encourage online dating. CSC is not necessarily encouraging it. I'm always telling people, if you do online dating, do it with the mindset of, I just want to get out the house. Not that I am going to find my person. Because if you do it for any other reason, you're just going to be frustrated. Right? Because you have to remember, people are online for a reason. You have to think about that. If they were super duper awesome, then they could just walk around and find their person. Right? So if you're going to search, and most of this is honestly, I have to say, is for the women, much more so than the men. Keep your searches wide. It's always amazing to me how tight women make their searches. And then they'll be like, well, there's nobody out here. Well, if you are 5'4", okay, as a woman, your search should be men 5'7" to infinity. If you are 35 and you're 5'4", your search should be a man that is 34 all the way up to a man that is 45. If you are, like I say, still using that same scenario of a woman, you should have a radius of like 20 to 25 miles, not 7 miles because you don't feel like driving. See, all of this is your attitude. It's your attitude, and it talks about your heart posture. I ain't willing to do nothing for nobody. He got to do it for me. He got to drive for me. It becomes an attitude. And no person, period, men or women, like attitudes. Next thing is, don't just pick super attractive people. This is both for men and women, because a lot of times we pick the really best, pretty people, but then the big issue with them is everybody's picking them. And then we get frustrated. If you are going to be out there, I do encourage you to date/talk to 2 people. However, no more. So as soon as you have 2 people in your queue or 3 people in your queue, you should mute your account. Muting your account means nobody else can find you. and you can't see anybody else. Why should you do this? Because if you got 7 people in your account, you're not going to give any of them any attention. And if they're doing the exact same thing, there's never going to be a situation where you guys come together. And that's one of the problems with online dating. It's not that people can't get folks in their queue. It's just that you'll have 10 people in your queue, the person got 10 people in their queue, and then everybody's trying to level up and get the best person. So nobody's really talking. And then it becomes frustrating. But you can't really blame the other person because you're doing the exact same thing. All right. So you should get on calls, not texts. This is an issue for women. Women do not like giving out their phone number. This is why we always say, get you a temporary phone number. There's plenty of them. We also know as a digital phone number, you can get it right on your phone. It pops up. It does kind of mess you up a little bit with text because the text don't pop up in your notifications. But you can just tell the guy, hey, call me on my temp number. Most of them are free. People also might call them a Google number because Google gives away phone numbers for free. So you can get that while you're dating online. And then once you stop dating online, you can let it go. Right? And like I say, the last one was something I said at the very beginning. Remember, there are reasons why people use online dating. All right. So time to position, right? So this primarily is for women, but some of this is for men. A lot of women have this mindset that women don't make the first move. That is garbage, right? Most of the time, women make the first move. How do they make the first move? They make the first move by smiling. Smiling at the man, making eye contact with the man, right? Okay, in this picture, we know all the stuff. The lady is showing that she's dropping her handkerchief and she's walking away grinning because she knows the man is going to pick up her handkerchief and bring it to her. She made the first move. That was the first move. But modern women are like, I don't make the first move. I ain't got the first move. No, because as soon as you lock eyes with him, you've made the first move. Now, there are men, Sean Williams is, one of my favorite people. He's from CSC management, so I can, pick on him a little bit. But Sean Williams, he will do what they call a cold approach. A cold approach is when the man, you don't see the man. You are just doing your life, maybe getting your groceries. And as you're putting in your spaghetti sauce, he pops up and he says something. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you like ragu. Right? That is a cold approach. But most men, and we talked about this a lot in CSC, most men will not approach you if it's a cold approach. They're looking for you to make eye contact with them. They're looking for you to smile at them or something like that. And then when they see that, that is when they will come over and talk to you. Now, I will tell a woman, if you have smiled at him, if you have made eye contact with him and he does not come over, then just don't worry about him. Because you do need a man that has a little bit of courage. And if he doesn't come over by, you locking eyes with him, just leave him alone. Now, you can garner attention by conversation, by asking for help. Asking for help is the easiest thing. And this is another reason why women don't need to be doing a lot of work, because you can ask for help. Why in the world put your groceries in your car when you can have a man do it for you? That is the power of being a woman. The power of being a woman is that a man will do for you. And if a man won't do for you, why are you talking to him? So you can ask men for pretty much anything, and a lot of times the man will do it. Okay, you can drop something. You can, for men, you can compliment. Women can do it too. Smiling, saying hello. Now, here is a pro tip that I'm always telling people is, especially women, you should wear conversational clothing. A lot of women do not like to wear conversational clothing, but I encourage you to do so. So what is conversational clothing? It is basically something that is going to spark an emotional response in men and or women. So how does this work? Like you see on it says t-shirts, athletic wear, pins, bracelets, blah, blah, blah. So how does this work? Well, simple. If you have, for instance, a New York Saints shirt on and you're walking around Atlanta, and I see you. 9 times out of 10, I am going to say something to you because you have a Saints shirt on, because I am an Atlanta Falcon, right? And I am 100% hating on the Saints at all times. So it's very difficult for a person with a Saints shirt, male or female, to walk beyond me, to walk past me, and I don't say anything. So if you are a woman and you're walking around, okay, that gives you a heads up. So I know the next thing women are going to say, well, what if I don't follow the Saints and I don't know nothing about football and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. All you need to tell the man is, I don't keep up with the Saints. A friend gave me this shirt. It was on sale, whatever it is, because it's just a way to open the conversation. That's all it is. Or like Tashawn would say, you could do something like wear a sci-fi shirt, maybe something like Star Wars or Star Trek. And now, if a man is into that as well, and he's walking past you, and you have something like Kirk is 10 times better than Picard, now, if I'm a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan or whatever, and I'm walking past, I might be like, no, that's bull garbage. Picard is the man. And so now we have a conversation again. So when you hit that emotional response, even men that are a little bit shy will speak up. And the great thing about it is now, if you have something like, say, like a sci-fi shirt, and you really are into science fiction, then now you automatically have somebody that agrees with you and that you have something in common. And you could do the same thing if like you're a Game of Thrones fan, or if you are like going to museums, or even if you are a vacation person, because you could get a shirt that says, I'd rather, be traveling or something like that. Because now people like Sean Williams, he might walk past you and be like, oh, you like to travel? Oh, okay, where you travel to? But if you walk past me, I don't care about travel. So I would just walk right past you, and that, I wasn't into it. So those are the types of things that I definitely encourage people to do. You can also carry items that have information on them. This is a trick that a lot of book readers do. They, because people have always wondered like why ebooks never really took off the way that they did. I mean, they're making a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, they're $1 billion industry, but there are a lot of people that prefer paper books. And one of the reasons why is because if you're in a coffee shop and you have a book open and you're reading the book, then people can look and they can see what book you're reading. But if you have a Kindle, they don't know what book you're reading. And so it just gives more information, and it makes it easier for people to say hello. And that's what you have to do. You got to break down the barriers that stop people from talking. And as we do more and more social media, we're getting to a place where we're not talking enough, and we have to talk more. All right. So anyway, we're now on here, and I'm going to let Sean Williams kind of run the beginning of the conversation, and as I look through some of these messages and check a few things as well. But if you have a direct question for me, then I will be back in a few. All right.
Joseph, I appreciate you so much. I was actually in the chat typing to Helena. This group is all about, sharing your. We welcome your experience. Put it out there. Let's talk about it, because I'm sure, some other people in the group probably share the same experience as you do, and any insights you give will be valuable to the group overall. I've listened to the presentation. Me and Joseph always come from two different perspectives. What I think everybody needs to do in the new year is, number one, get out of the house and just be open. it'd be, two things Joseph said that was true. One, of you in New York walking around with a smile on your face, and I'm from New York, so I know they're going to think you weird and crazy and probably run away from you because you're creepy. Where down in Atlanta, that seems to be the cultural norm. So if you're in the South, learn to get out of the house and say good morning to people. Just practice that. You'll be surprised how many people end up starting a conversation with you. If you're in New York, then you gotta look for something to talk about. You gotta look at what they're wearing. You gotta look at the book that they're reading. You gotta look at something you have in common. You just can't walk up to somebody because they're gonna be like, why are you talking to me? What do you want? That's for the New Yorkers. And trust and believe, I know everything about New York. I was born and raised there. Maybe we'll have an event. Maybe I'll just do a one-on-one. But to my second point, why don't we learn to just like hang out instead of looking for that person, that perfect person? Just hang out and hopefully you'll meet a friend. Hopefully you'll make a friend. There's been too many days where I'm home alone on a Saturday night and I just want somebody to hang out with, not necessarily, a hookup. I'm not trying to find that person, just to have company to go to the movies. I may want to see Color Purple, but because it's a girly chick, I can't be to watch a chick flick. So, but I think in the new year, we just got to be open to just meeting people. That's it, y'all. That's the secret. I think a lot of us, we have a lot to offer, but nobody's going to know because we're not willing to put ourselves out there, so that people can get to know us right where we are. So let's go to RJ. RJ, you got your hand up.
Hi, thanks. So I got a couple of thoughts I was thinking while the presentation was going on. So one of them is this, and I'm calling this the word for today. Authentic self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-acceptance does not intimidate, nor is it intimidatable. If you gain these three characteristics, I think your relationships will improve. And also, let's get away from this idea of submission and embrace the concepts of compromise, collaboration, and complementary give and take. So those are my comments.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? Me, and this is just my opinion, y'all. This is just my opinion. I am so sick of the term authentic self. Because it's like we making who we are complicated. We're trying to be our authentic self. When the reality is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're being who you are. There's no question. I don't have
John,
to.
not to interrupt you, but I said authentic self-esteem.
Authentic
Esteem, not authenticity itself, but self-esteem.
To be your authentic self, I would probably,
That's different. That's different than
real.
authentic self-esteem. You're saying something different than what I said.
Okay. I'm not like disagreeing with you. I'm just I just don't like the term authentic self. I think we are who we are, and that's all that it is. And we need to just be honest. That's all. Lori just popped in. Lori's also one of the organizers. Hey, Lori.
I don't agree with that.
Come on, who said they don't agree? Let's
Oh.
talk.
Oh, I said it. I don't agree with what you're saying.
Okay, so come on, share your thoughts,
Okay.
bro.
Okay, you can always grow. Every year, I change, I grow, I matured. My wife and I, rest her soul, I was married 22 years, faithful, committed, supportive, loving relationship. I was golden. It was a golden marriage because the Lord set it apart for us to marry. But she died, coma, and everything else. But you're not going to be who you are. I mean, that's just an excuse. You should always better yourself and grow. I'm different than I was in high school. I'm different than I was when I was 20. I'm different than I was when I was 30, and so forth, because I made it a point to grow. I made it a point to mature. My wife helped me, rest her soul, be a better husband, a better father, and a better dang human being, because I was willing to grow. I was willing to be teachable. I was willing to be to learn. So I disagree with what you're saying. If you're stuck in yourself, that's why you'll never get married, because you're not going to grow. You're
that's
not going
not what I'm saying. You just said that you're willing to grow, you're willing to change. That's who you are. So you make a conscious decision on a regular basis to change and to grow, to learn from past experiences. That's who you are. There is plenty of
That's who I
people
choose to
who,
be. That's who I
huh?
choose to be.
No. I
It's
said
a
you make a
decision. I
decision
haven't
on a
always
regular
been like
basis
that.
to change, correct?
No, but that's who I choose to be. I wasn't always like that. But I
Okay.
matured and learned to say, okay, that's the best way for me to be what God wants me to be, and what I need to be as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a companion.
So
So I
can you
chose to be
honestly
that.
say that that's who you are right now?
Yeah, because I choose to be that.
Okay, so that's your authentic self. I'm saying be honest. That's what I'm talking. That's when I talk about being who you are, meaning that I used to, not that we're kids, but I used to tell my kids, what you do speaks so loud that I can't even hear what you say. So everything that I do on a regular basis is exactly who I am. Now, there are some people who don't want to change and grow. They're not into personal performance. They're not into being a better version of themselves. They want to be stuck right where they are. But that's who they are.
Well, that's their maturity level at that point in time.
I don't judge that. I don't judge that. As long as they're happy and that's where they are and they embrace it and accept it, then we love them with the love God has given to us for them. That's just where they're at. There are people like Dr. Stephanie who's into personal performance, who wants to constantly grow and change. It's who she are. It becomes part of your DNA and it just takes over at some point, to where you're constantly learning and growing because you're open to change. For us in here, a lot of us, we have to be open to change when it comes to our dating relationships. And the reason why I say that is because if we want to be with the person we want to be with, and that hasn't happened to us in the past, then obviously there's some things we have to change in ourselves to make that happen. Now, there are some people in here who are willing to make the change because that's just who they are. And there's some people in there that don't want to make any changes, that think everything is going to come to them and they're going to stay stuck where they are because that's who they are. That's why I don't like using the term authentic self, because my personal opinion, your authentic self is constantly being shown.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of getting caught up in semantics, because it sounds like I think both of you are about growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the key element. So it's interesting. I mean, the chat has definitely been interesting on this one. I guess we had somebody in there that just didn't like a lot of stuff, but she left. So good riddance and just moved on to the next thing. But I did just want to go over some of the stuff that she did brought up, just in case other people were concerned or questioned it or whatever. Because she came in questioning everything from my background to the information and blah, blah, blah. But like I said, I've been doing this for 3.5 years. Sean Williams is out here, Sean B to Sean. Now we have Lori, who's online, Jocelyn. all of us are organizers and we work tirelessly, for CSC and what we can do for CSC. We do a lot of research. We have studies. We have factual information that we brought forth, statistics and all the other kind of good and fun stuff. So, people don't always like just like Sean Williams said, Sean said, Elena said, assume too much. She should have asked questions. But it's interesting that she left right before she could ask questions. So I also look at that as well. And thank you, Patty. I see what you're saying too. And that's the whole point. The point is to get better every day. The point is to grow every day. And so if we're in a situation where, people just want to stay kind of in their locked up mindset, then that's fine. You stay there in your locked up mindset. But what I've seen is that as I've worked with Sean and I work with other people, because like I said, Sean has taught me a lot of stuff, and Tashawn has taught me stuff, and Lori has taught me stuff, and even Dr. Stephanie, who's smiling over there, she's taught me stuff, even though she's not an organizer now. So it's through the group that we've learned a lot from each other. Even Patty's taught us a lot of stuff. We even talked to her about maybe even doing her own, meeting one time. So what I find with people is that there's really just an energy. If you either have the energy that you want to move forward, grow, learn, or you don't. And like one of the things that I'm constantly saying is, and this is always a difficult side of running, Christian Singles Connect, is that as people look around, those that have their cameras on or are just looking through the camera people, and Shanna, I'll get to you if you want to, still raise your hand or you want me to come back to you. But what you start to see is that there are both men and women on the call. So if I'm sitting around and I'm saying things that the men do not agree with, don't you think that the men will raise their hand and say, no, I don't agree with that. I don't like it. Kind of like Carlton just kind of did, which I appreciate him for doing. I'm not pointing him out in a bad way. I'm just saying when we have problems, that's the whole point. And if I am basically saying something for the women, then the women, is plenty of them, they can easily say, no, Jay, I don't agree with that. But when you actually have something that both sides will at least 85 to 90% agree, do you not think you should pay attention to that? And see, that's the key. See, we like to get in our little vacuumed worlds where, you go to a dating person and all they do is talk to women. Or all they do is talk to men. So at that point, they're just catering to the crowd. I'm just being real. I've learned a lot about talking to women when it comes to on a bigger stage. And that's when you start to say, I'm going to be honest, you push hope. That's what you push to women, you push hope. So you do things like you'll say, and I'm going to pick on Lori, because I always pick on, our organizers. And I'll say, Lori, your man's coming. God is going to bless you with your man. And you don't have to do nothing, baby girl. You just stay the authentic, wonderful person that you are. And I'm telling you, God's got you. And everything's going to work out. But while it's working out, go buy my book. It's right here. It's only $10. Go buy my book. And then when you get around men, it's like all these women, they don't know what they're talking about. They always want this. They always want that. Man, forget these women. If they're not pretty, if they're not this, don't talk to them. And that's the world we live in. And then at the end of it is like, okay, y'all need to give $10. Get $10 right now to my thing. If y'all ain't sending me $10, on whatever little app I got to collect money, then this is the end of this show. This is the end of this show. I ain't talking no more. But at the end of it, it's just about money. And so they're catering to the crowd so that you will basically send in your tithe and offering. Right? But with CSC, we have both men and women. So I can't be like that. Sean Williams can't be like that. Tashawn can't be like that. Jocelyn can't be like that. Lori can't be like that. Why? Because we talk to both men and women. So, just to say that based off of, what was in the comments, just so we can move beyond that. So now, Miss Shanna, do you still have something you want to say, or are you good?
Yeah, I have a question about being friends. So I would go on dates, but I still want to get to know the person and be their friend. But men tend to like take it as a rejection, like you don't like me, but I'm like, no, I want to get to know you better. So how can we be friends with men without the men just thinking that we're trying to reject them? So I just wanted to get that.
I mean, I'll say it from my perspective. If other men want to comment in, and some of the new people, like I said, from Carlton to Wesley, Calvin. I know Calvin's one of our older people. If y'all want to comment, from your perspective as a man, please do. But I will say for me, it's always about communication. It's always been about that from the very beginning. So if a woman comes in and she says, look, I want to date you, but I really want us to be friends first. And I want to, make sure up front that there's not going to be any kissing, there's not going to be any romantic gestures, until, I can kind of get a vibe off of you, then I'm 100% okay with that. But if the woman doesn't say those things, and we don't have that conversation, then I would be probably like some of those other guys and think that you're rejecting me, because that's what a lot of women do. They'll say stuff like, oh, well, you're such a nice guy, but I just want to be friends. So at that point, like I said, you just have to keep the communication open. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, when I talk to women, I try to tell them straight up, like, in the first 2 or 3 weeks, first couple of dates, I'm not trying to kiss you. I'm not trying to do any of that. What I'm trying to do is to get to know you. And I just tell them, like, and most women that I run into, they don't have a problem with it, because I put the rules of engagement up front so everybody knows what they're dealing with. And then from there, we can go, from there. So, Sean, did you have something you want to say on that? Like I said, or any of the other gentlemen?
Shanna, which part of New York you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Okay. Yeah, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. New York is I'll be honest with you, it's difficult.
Different.
New York is move at the speed of next week. So, the guy's looking at you, you're attractive, like he's ready to move. They're not trying to waste time. They're trying, they handle their business. But I was in that situation. There was a woman I was very attracted to. And what she said to me was, she doesn't feel that way now. She's not saying, she said, I'm not saying I'm never going to feel that way. I'm just saying that I'm not feeling that way now, but I do enjoy hanging out with you. And we was friends for over 10 years, until she finally got married, and then we lost contact. Well, we didn't lose contact. We just stopped hanging out. So, I mean, I would try that, but to be honest, it's tough because we move so fast. That was one of the reasons why I moved to Georgia, because Georgia moves a lot slower than New York City does.
I take offense to that. I'm just kidding.
I know, bro. I worked on Wall Street. So trust and believe, when I say New York moves fast, they do. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I tell you what, you get on Fifth Avenue in the middle of the afternoon and see how many people bump into you because you're not moving fast enough. Am I lying, Shannon?
You're not. And I wanted to add that I've had people try to propose to me at 3 months, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. I mean, I know that a lot of women want that, but I don't want to be in a situation where you get married with someone in like 3 months and then you're divorced in 6 months. I'm very much a person that wants to be friends. I want to get to know you. I want to pray with you. I want to make sure that like you are who God has actually sent me, but they move very, very fast. They want to have kids. Like, it's crazy. So I just don't know how to say that, because I've said it a couple of times, like, hey, let's just take this slow. Guys want to just go into like sex. They're like, wait, why don't you like me? What's the problem? What should I do to fix myself? And I'm like, there's nothing that you need to do. I just need to get to know you.
I would try dating somebody that works in New York but lives in New Jersey. Because the reason why they went to New Jersey is because they wanted a slower pace. So you've got plenty of people. I mean, they're catching the bus and the train into New York every day to go to work. So I would, because New Jersey is a whole lot different. It's quieter, slower. So the mentality of the person is just a little bit more low key. That's just a thought. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a woman. So, I mean,
These
I
days you
know.
could be one, Sean. All you got to
No, that's
do
all
is
right.
just
That's
tell
all
the
right.
world that
I know technology, it is the way it is. But one of my requirements for dating is that the person was born a woman and stayed that way.
Yeah, I get it. Wesley, you sure you don't want to jump to the other side, brother? I saw you point. I'm joking on you. He like that wasn't funny, dude. That was funny.
Natalie up there. Hey, Natalie.
Yeah. Come on, Natalie.
Hey y'all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm sorry.
Yes, good afternoon. So I'd like to contest what's being said and spoken about so far as far as, it depends on the state that you're dating in because once upon a time I was on Hinge. And with Hinge, that app anyway, you can actually move your pin to different states and, talk to people that you probably would never necessarily meet, like in your state or anywhere close to it. So I just like to say, with my experience in even doing that, meeting people, I'm talking about from California, from Washington, from going back to like New Orleans, like all over the state. It's honestly the state of dating in general that is contaminated. I don't think it matters what state the person is in. I just found that it's like at least, from a woman dating, trying to seek a man, it seems to be the same regardless of what state. And I'm talking about, when I mean the same, I'm talking about guys really don't put in the effort to really get to know you. They are very low vibration in terms of conversation. They don't dive deep into who you are as a person, how you became who you are. It's very surface level. So I don't know anybody else's experience with dating or having or trying to start a long distance relationship, but for me, I don't think it matters what state. I have seen a trend regardless because this is where the state of dating is in no, this millennial type of dating. But I'll pause there.
Well, I can't speak for, I
For
can
you.
only speak for myself, but I will say, for me, doing online dating versus in-person dating, I'll change the two. And I've never been a fan of online, as you guys know. I even said it in the presentation that I only believe to use it, just to get yourself out and about. I think with people online, it's just very easy for them just not to care. And I've noticed it with me. I had one lady, she stopped talking to me because we were having a frank conversation. I thought I could be honest. And I know I shouldn't have been honest, but I told her that I've spoken to, literally talked on the phone / conversation, texting to a large number of women online, but I had only dated, like literally took out on dates, 13 of them within 4 years. And she just could not believe that I've, talked to that many women and, went on dates with 13 plus women and believed that I was a good man because in her mind, I should have found a good woman by now. Because she just believed that all women are great and that there are just no good ones. And to me, that was, honestly, when I was meeting her and talking to her, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, this is why you're on online dating, because you got issues. And then I've met like 2 or 3 women in person, through various, different channels. And I'll admit the women in person were a lot more engaged. They were a lot more open and honest. They wanted to continue the conversations much longer. They were much quicker to talk about their feelings and what they were trying to do in the relationship. You know, if I said let's go out, they would make plans to go out versus online. I'd be fighting with people just to get their phone number. So I think that online is just a different environment. And I think when you meet people in person, you know, especially I think if you don't meet them at parties and stuff like that, I think that people are just more engaged because they're thinking, I don't have 10 people in my inbox. All I got is you. So they trying to make it work. Versus when you, and I mean, it's hard, you know, when you sitting there and you're looking at your inbox and the real cute person is the person that hasn't messaged you in 5 days, but the person that's weird is the person that keeps talking to you, then you keep thinking in the back of your mind, man, why won't the cute person say hello? So I think that it messes with you and it kind of throws off your equilibrium. But that's just how I feel about it. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I had a question because I have I'm kind of in the same boat as her, but I'm on the other side is when I've tried to get in depth or have some intellectual conversation, especially online. I mean, I get the lady saying, you sure ask a lot of questions, or you have too many questions, or I was like, you know, well, how am I supposed to know who I'm dealing with if I don't ask a question, right? If we're not engaging, so then it's kind of the opposite, and then they want to avoid all the questions, and I'll just block them. I was just like, oh, they're just too immature, too childish, can't hold a conversation, so I'm done. So I don't know how we can get past the online dating scene to actually meet somebody in person. You know, because a couple of them, they ask me, hey, I want to meet you, and then they don't even show up. So then I block them. I was like, hey, my time is valuable. I don't have time for that foolishness. So, yeah, I don't get it. I've kind of in the same boat as the other lady that mentioned it, but I got women kind of avoiding my questions instead of getting in depth and talking about, okay, where they're at, what do they do, how do they think, that sort of thing.
I kind of want to respond to what Jay was talking about. So, I was speaking more in a sense like what Sean was talking about, meeting people in different states. That's the reason why I brought up the online dating. But it's the same when I've met people in person, regardless of the atmosphere. It could be at a friend's get together at their house. It could be at a bar. It could be, you know, someplace that I went to as an event. It's the same thing in terms of lack of effort and not getting deep into conversation. But just wanted, you know, to kind of clarify that.
No, I mean, it might be true. Like I said, I've heard a lot with the millennials, because you're like, what, a mid-millennial. So I've heard more with them that they seem to have that problem, especially with the millennial men. In fact, I'm going to be real with you. I've heard a lot of Gen X men just say straight up, we just going to take the millennial women from the millennial men because they don't know how to respect them. And I've heard conversations about that, but, you know, after that, I don't know. Anybody else anybody got any millennial men on that want to comment? I don't know if we have any millennial men today. Okay, I guess not. Stephanie, you want to say something?
I'm a millennial woman, so I'm going to say, going back to Shayna about the New York thing, I agree in the sense that they just like to move quickly, period. I mean, I've had people like, hey, you want to have a baby tonight? Like, tonight? You want to get pregnant tonight? I mean, so people move really, really quick. You want to get married in 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, she said 3 months. I've seen it less than that. So people just like to move. I have noticed online it's even worse than that. But people just like to move really, really, really quickly. I like, you know, kind of staved someone off a little bit online, and they were like, well, I thought you wanted to get married. I was like, my God, did I say that? Is that anywhere on my profile? So I had to look at what I was doing. But I do think online people can just hide behind things and they may want to actually get married. But yeah, online dating I think is very, very strange, or it has been for me. But I actually do have a really good friend who got married from dating online, but it was also on Black People Meet. So that was a while back. So I just wanted to kind of second that. I don't, and Sean, not to totally disagree with you about New York, but
I just said I'm only going to talk about New York. I didn't mention any other states. Right, Shanna? I just said I'm only addressing New York because she's in New York and I'm from New York. I'm not talking about no other state but New York.
And that makes total sense.
All of y'all.
Yeah, and culturally, that state, it can be different. But yeah, I would say Shayna in general, people just like to move very, very quickly. And I'm not sure what the rationale is behind it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to say real quick before we move on is that I did notice a huge difference in the online dating community from before the pandemic to after the pandemic. Before the pandemic, a lot of the women, to me, I can only say from a male to a woman perspective, a lot of the women seemed sweeter, nicer, and it was just a lot of them that were introverted. And that would seem like the big reason why they were online. But then after after the pandemic, there seemed to be a lot more bougie women and a lot more women who were entrepreneurs, a lot more women who were a lot more aggressive about life. Those seem to be the women that I would run into more after the pandemic. So I think, period, that everything changed. I don't know if the quote unquote better people, I don't know if that's really a good term to use, but, stayed out there through that process. Because I think everybody jumped onto it during the pandemic, but then I think a lot of the good people got frustrated and just got off. Did you want to say anything else, Stephanie, before I move to Jacqueline?
No,
Actually, Jacqueline had her hand up.
Okay, come on, Jacqueline.
Hello. So first of all, everyone, I was that woman online that Jay was talking to, and it did not go down like that. I'm just kidding. My question was really around the whole friend thing. As you saw in the chats, a lot of times, you say that friend thing, and men really aren't trying to feel that, or they'll yes you to death, but that's not the agenda. So that's why I asked you to put that in the chat. So that was addressed. How do you just say, I like you, but I want to get to know you? And that means won't be kissing you. We're not walking down the street holding hands. You're not coming to my place. So it gets so hard for someone who means it when they say it. And then my question to you is really around, and don't take this the wrong way, because you said something and it caused me pause. I do feel that women feel, especially if you're a good looking man and you got a good job, you're doing the right things, you're Christian, and you're still single after pick a number of years, we do wonder why that is. So my question is really for the men, and starting with you, Jay, why do you think that is for you, or men in general? And you kind of addressed some of it in the slides, but yeah, if a woman would ask you, so you've been single for what? You dated and talked to 13 people? Because maybe we're one of those women that were ruled out. Maybe there's something we're doing. Maybe there's something we can learn from that.
Jacqueline, could you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. So the question is, why do you think you're single after so many months or years single? Maybe we women can learn from that, because obviously there are some men on here that why aren't you married? That's all.
Okay, well, do you want to go first, Sean, or you want me to go?
No, Wesley. Wesley, wasn't you trying to say
why
something,
y'all keep calling my name? I mean, you can talk if you want, Wesley, but if not, we'll take it. I think he liked it.
No, y'all go ahead and take it. I'm listening. But I will say this. For me, I know that I am a person that's hard to love. I'm difficult to love. And I know that from talking to my therapist, because for me, I'm expecting the same energy that I give you to come back to me. And what I found out, some women that I've encountered don't feel that way. They think I should be baby birding them. Every time I show up, they got their mouth open, feed me, feed me, feed me. But it was my turn to get fed. But that's my take. I'm out.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, I think it's good, like I said, for people to listen. I mean, and again, for the new people, we're open forum, so everybody can talk. But from my perspective, it really is kind of a lot of what Sean B put into the chat. So if you look at the chat, you'll see Sean, it just says Sean, but it's Sean B. We call him Sean B. And it's not, women think that there's all these great women out here, but there's not. You're judging the women based off of the information that you have as a woman. And it's kind of like I was saying in the presentation, men don't use the same set of rules to judge women as women use to judge women. So for instance, you might have a friend right now who you say, okay, it's the right age for you, Jay. She's pretty, she's this, she's that. And then I could look at her, you could say she's pretty. I could look at her and be like, oh, no, she ain't pretty. And see, you would think, oh, no, she is. And I'm like, no, she ain't. And see, that's where it kind of, goes in. Just because you have a feeling about something because you're a woman and you're looking at something, I say the same thing with men. I can have a lot of guys that I know that are really what I think great guys. They're good, they're there, they're nice. Like my boy Calvin down there with the sunshades on. Calvin, I might say, hey, Calvin's a great guy, go hang out with Calvin. And then, there are women that might be like, nah, I want to hang out with Calvin, Calvin, he gonna make sure he tell me his opinion. So, it works that way. Also, then, you have to find somebody that's lined up with your purpose in life. Like, for instance, again, with me, for the new people, I want to have children. I'm not, I'm still young enough to have kids. I don't have any kids. So it's a little bit more difficult because I'm kind of in a medium age where I'm in my 40s, but I'm still dating, hoping to have children. And a lot of women that are in their 40s or even late 30s, they like, I'm done with kids. I don't want them. So you're at that situation where you're not getting that perfect scenario, where I can walk into a relationship and, have those kids and have that life. Or maybe I'll run into a woman and she wants to have kids, but I'm an intellectual. I'm a nerd. So we get around each other and we have nothing to talk about because she basically wants to watch Ready to Love and doesn't want to talk about it and discuss it once it's over. And I'll watch Ready to Love and all these other shows all you want, but once it's over, we're going to have a discussion. We have to discuss why this person didn't like this person and this other person didn't do this. That's part of the fun for me. So if a woman can't do that, she's not the person for me. So I think women believe that there's all these great choices out there because they see all their single friends. But from my perspective and the men that I've talked to, we don't see it that way. We see the same issues that women see. Because otherwise it's the same thing with women. Women open the door for a relationship. It is you all that open the door. So it's kind of like with all the single men and every statistic that we've shown out here on CSC is there's about 8 men for every 10 women. It's actually a little bit more than that. 8 men for every 10 women. Okay, in the African American community, in the in other communities there might be 9 or 10. But here's the whole thing. Even with that, a pretty woman can go out there and get a number, tonight. And every man knows this and understands this. Yet you all have the same thing where you're saying, well, we can't find good guys. Yet you can go out every day of the week and get 7 phone numbers or even 14 to double on night. And it's like, why don't you want any of these men? So I think it's easy to blame the opposite sex, but I think at the end of it, the people are looking for a specific thing and they want the woman to line up with that specific thing. So I'm gonna pass it over to Sean Williams.
Yeah, let me answer Jacqueline's question and then we'll go to Jeanette. And her question is why, well, for me Fortunately, I believe that there's plenty of good women out there. I believe that Atlanta is loaded with some of the most attractive women here, which is one of the reasons why I moved down here. But the reality is, the reason why I'm still single and I'm not married, it's totally my fault. I can't blame y'all. I can't blame y'all for all the years of stupidity and all the years of indecision that I went through. Like, that's not y'all fault. So one of the reasons why I came into this group was because I kept picking the same type of woman over and over again. Different name, different body, different complexion, but overall the same kind of person. So for me, the reason why I'm still single now is because now I'm learning some things. So now I'm in the testing phase. So everything that I'm doing now is just the trial and error thing, and I'm learning from all of these experiences. You know, one of the things that I do, I just got out of a relationship not too long ago. The relationship didn't work out.
You keep going in and out, Sean, or is that me?
We just wasn't right for each other.
You keep going in and out, so we missed most of what you just said. Saw you talking.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, because we can't hear you at all now. I thought it was me at first, but.
No,
I
he's
ain't even
going.
gonna lie to you, Jacqueline, while we're waiting on Sean. Some of the best women I've dated have been divorced. They have been some of the absolute best women because they understand how to be in a relationship. And so they come in with more of a relationship mindset, but then some of them have been so hurt, they just kind of locked up and, because of it. So it's a lot to it. You good, Sean? You want to try again?
Yeah. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. What I was saying was that the reason why I'm still single is my fault. It has nothing to do with the women in Atlanta. Sorry, Shanna, but it did have something to do with the women in New York. But one of it's totally my fault. It was because of my behavior, my indecision, and me dating the same type of personality over and over and over again, and not even understanding that that's not the kind of personality that fits well with me. So I can't blame the women because I totally believe and will always believe that there are plenty of good women out here. I think Christian Singles Connect have some of the most attractive, some of the most women that are ready to get married, like that I've ever seen. Everybody here in Christian Singles Connected want the same thing, but we're also willing to put in the work, or we wouldn't be here. So, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, there's hope because I'm going to continue to try. Now I've just gotten out of a relationship. The woman, we just didn't work. She's a great person, intellectual, like the whole nine, but we just wasn't right for each other. We just wanted two separate things out of our lives, and that's why it didn't work because we were going in two separate directions. That's not to say that, I can't meet somebody where we're going in the same direction. The thing is what we all got to do is we just got to keep at it. We just got to keep putting ourselves out there. Somebody asked me, "Oh, are you going to take some time off?" I'm like, "For what?" Just because the relationship didn't work out, just because the world may say, "Oh my God, that's a bad thing." No, it's better to do that than spend the rest of your life married to the wrong person. But it's okay. So, and we're all Christians. We're all disciples of Jesus. We didn't sleep with each other. We wasn't, it's okay for me to go out and meet somebody else. I can go out and date 100 women. I'm not sleeping with none of them. It doesn't matter. So I think we just kind of got to change the narrative. It's okay if it doesn't work out. Y'all can still be friends if you still have some things in common. You can go out there and try it again. But unless we keep putting ourselves out there, we're not going to increase our chances of success. So my encouragement to all of you guys is just keep getting out the house, keep putting yourselves out there, and that will increase your chances for success. Me, like I said, I just came from a relationship, so I wasn't too eager to jump right out there because I was tired. And then I wanted to save up some money because for men, dating costs. But, you know, trust and believe that I'm not going to stay in that situation. You know, so that's all I got for that. If that answers your question about why I am still single, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your honesty, transparency.
Okay, I'm gonna skip you for a minute, Janetta, and go to Patty because her hand keeps going up and down like this. I don't know if she's over there exercising. So I want to catch her before she takes her hand down again. So what did you want to say, Patty?
Sorry, I'm moving in and out. I have to do things here. So I apologize for all that chaos. You know, I agree with Sean. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves and see what is it within us that we are not attracting the right people. And I will give you just a quick example. When I was younger, I dated a sociopath, a very destructive person. And the reason is why I end up dating him because my mother is a narcissist. Make a long story short, before I have done any work on myself, I was attracting only toxic men. Now that I became more aware, I was working on myself, which has been going on for 15 years. It's never ending, by the way. I end up, now I'm dating a gentleman. I'm not saying I'm going to end up with him, but I'm attracting better people. And by better me, what I mean is, it's not that anybody's less or more. Excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
You were coming in and out on my.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? I'll get close.
I can hear you, Patty. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, by better, I don't mean anybody's worse or better. By better, I mean somebody who is a healthy person, emotionally, mentally. That's what I mean. And also making better choices. So what I would say to you, Jacqueline, is don't worry about those guys that do not approach you or want you. That's part of life. We all get rejected. Not everybody will want us, and that's okay. For you, do work on yourself and know the red flags. Choose the men who are healthier, and also give a chance to those who choose you. Don't go for men who look great on the outside. Choose somebody who's choosing you and give them a chance to get to know them. I'm done. Thank you.
No, that was great. Thank you. Love that. So come on, Janetta. You've been waiting.
Hey, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good to be with you, the group. I was just going to say, being a widow for 13 years now, this past October, and I've had, I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Chiefs, but I've been in Georgia since 2011. And I have dated online a few times, has not worked for me, but I've seen successes with other people, so I don't knock it. My experience online was usually people, it would, you know, once you get to someone that could have a conversation and you had something in common, then they would see me as being real in my walk with Christ. Or I don't know, some people think just going to church and getting a sermon every now and then and living their life as they want to was, you know, normal. But to lead and really strive to be more like Christ every day was like, devotionals, Bible study, what is like that was supposed, I guess, a fantasy for some people, or they wanted it but just didn't have the discipline or took the time to do it themselves. Even if it's just a few minutes, it grows when you just start having that desire. Whatever we want that's important, we make time for. So I would run into the ones that thought I was like a Jesus freak or too serious, or the non-committed men that's like, you're good for me, you're where I need to be, but they're not ready. So I think they were just still playing the field, and online makes it easier. Like you said, Jay, all these different people on there to choose from and all this, but they would automatically snatch me up and realize, oh, I'm not a play toy. I'm a grown woman. I love the Lord. I love ministry. I love people, my family. And I want to walk this walk with someone that can lead me. And they were like, whoa, I don't know if they thought they wasn't up to the part or they played the part but wasn't real. The last situation was this past summer where we were both on point all the way. But then because of two divorces, and they played with the timeline and being 5 hours away, Georgia and Florida, then the law said from the get-go, if the long distance was going to be a problem, let me know if it couldn't handle it. So after about 3 or 4 months, I think it was that just being distance because being away, then they're down there with Florida, Bikini Land, and all this kind of stuff. The temptation was always there. So their walk was kind of carnal. So I just kind of, they still felt like, well, I think about you, but when they're not around me, there's all this temptation. So I kind of let that go, knowing that, okay, if I'm not going to be a priority and you don't have the discipline, then I'm not going to be an option or someone you just come back around to when you want to come to Georgia or whatever. So so it's just been me and the Lord and being busy with ministry and work and my purpose, what God wants me to do. And I'm out and about and around singles and other groups, this group and another group, often getting to know men and women as friends. We building good friendships, which is a great foundation. So I'm just trusting God for my person,
Carlton, did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry about that. I was talking to my daughter, actually. No, not really. Thank you for sharing. I just think I admire people for sharing. I think it's a good thing. I mean, sometimes people aren't willing to share or give where they're at or their walk or what they've been through. So I think that's admirable. And we've all been through some stuff. I know I've been through, but thank God that there's always greener pastures on the other side.
Amen.
Man,
I haven't been 13 years like you, so I admire that. My wife passed away October 1st of 2023, so it hasn't been that long, but she was in a coma for months. She's been in a coma. She was in a coma for 10 months. So that was hell visiting her every day, praying that God would raise her up and stuff. And I guess he had other.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.